good. You're right. Hey, everyone.
Hello.
Hey. Just putting everyone in. All right, I'm going to put some oils on. While everyone's joining, I'm just going to take a minute or two, type in the comments what oil you are putting on tonight. What are you feeling? I feel like I always put the same one on for my Zoom calls. It's always Clarity, always. Just have to have clarity. It's 8 o'clock at night after a long day. How many of you are like, yes, right? Like long day of working, homeschooling, whatever your day has entailed. It's, yeah, we need some oils, right? I see Laurel in here. Laurel and I are going to bring it tonight. What are you putting on, Laurel? What kind of oil did you put on tonight? The blue bottle. Awaken?
Dollar.
Oh, Valor. Yes. For all the right reasons, right? Yes.
Yep.
Sweet. Awesome. Okay. Well, I'm just gonna get this started because I know your time is valuable and I appreciate all of you here tonight. And so my eyes might be looking off to the right-hand side of my screen because I'll be letting people in throughout the evening, or at least the beginning part of the evening, but I'm super excited. Laurel and I are going to help you fight this fight against sugar, right? This is like one of the biggest battles that we have in our diets. And my story, if you are brand new and you are just joining us, maybe you're new to our Monday night calls, welcome. My name is Sarah Stutzman, and I was an elementary ed teacher for about 9 years. Decided I wanted to stay home with my babies. My true love is health and wellness, and just homesteading and knowing the roots of where our food comes from, and having that foundation of good nutritional intake in our diet. And so I became a holistic health coach as I was home raising my babies and building my Young Living business. I love Young Living, and I see a lot of you that are in here are joining. You are part of our team, and it is just so powerful to have these tools at our fingertips. But I also wanted to know more. People were asking me, well, what are you doing? What are you growing? How are you, they were just asking the questions, and I just didn't feel like, I was like, I don't know, what kind of information can I give them? I wanted to have some credentials to feed them, but I just wanted to dig deeper into nutrition, dig deeper into how our body works. And so I'm totally a geek on like functional medicine and getting to root cause. So tonight we're going to talk about that big beast that's in our life, all of us, no matter how healthy we are, how healthy we strive to be. Sugar, it is everywhere. And so why are we ditching sugar? What is the root cause of that? Comment, tell me why you want to ditch sugar. What is your biggest, in the comment section in the bottom of your screen in the little chat thread, if you're new here, type out why do you want to ditch sugar? Why do you want to get it out of your life? Okay, Connie, yes, inflammation. We're going to talk about that. Yes, once you eat it, you cannot stop. Completely agree. And it is a big beast. I mean, we are getting rid of that because after, December and this whole quarantine, I feel like it is taken over, right? It is taken over. Sluggish, that like brain fog. It's not good fuel, right? Does not feel good, right, Amber? Keep them coming. Keep those comments coming. And so on Ningxia, not wine, Ningxia and seltzer, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But sugar is a glorified drug. Would you all agree? It is as addictive as cocaine. There have been studies done. It is that addictive. And guess what? It is known, it is glorified. It is a pretty much a drug that is offered to our children at such a young age, right? Whether we know it or not. My husband and I were talking the other night and we were like, or not the other night, we had like a little date day. We do these little random date, days during the day where we're just like, the kids are watching TV and we'll go out to the garage or we'll go somewhere and we'll just like talk, right? And we were talking about our children's nutrition and we're like, wow, our oldest, we fed crap. And she came out and she like joined in on the conversation. We're like, we're so sorry. We fed you crap. We really did not know what we were doing as new parents. No clue. We fed them goldfish, fed her a goldfish, all those little, like the baby food that's packaged as like toddler food is so full of sugar, like those little yogurt drops. We were constantly feeding them to her as a baby. So it is, and we don't know any better, right? We just think it's labeled as baby food. It's labeled as, either it's a health food or it's on the shelf. We think it's safe. But when we flip it over and we look at the sugar content, when we know better and we do better, we're like, what was I doing? What was I feeding myself? What was I feeding my kids? And so it's offered at our children, for our children at a very young age. Sugar has between 56 up to 75 different names. And I will, when Laurel is giving her juicy little tips, I'll post a little link in the comment of a little Google Doc that I made of all the names that you can save, you can download so that you can be conscious. Some you'll be able to notice them like in an instant, right? Like brown sugar, cane sugar, honey, maple syrup. But then there will be ones like maltodextrin, dextrose. You'll see those a lot on labels. But and that's not even including artificial sugars, okay? So 75 names just for sugar, not including artificial counterfeits. So we have to be just mindful of where that sugar is coming from. 68% of barcoded foods in the US, sold in the US, contain added sugar, okay? So it's just added to the food. Why? Because it is a drug. Like I said, I'll just say it over and over again. It messes with our brain. And like, I forget who said it, but we just want to eat more and more. I think Melanie said that. We just want more and more and more. And what it does, it tricks our brain. We are full from eating whatever we want, whatever we're eating, but our body is craving nutrition. So it's our brain is saying more, because it's not getting the nutrition that it needs. And so we keep eating and eating and eating because the body thinks if we're eating more, we're going to find that nutrition. When our body really needs is vitamins, minerals, okay, fat and protein. And when we're eating sugar or sugar-laden products, right, candy bars, granola bars, healthy protein bars, right, thinking we're doing better, our body's not getting the nutrition that it needs. And so it just wants to keep eating. So why do we want to do this? Why do we want to ditch sugar? Some of you said inflammation, feeling sluggish, okay? The craving, during those stressful moments. So here are 3 reasons, because it's not about losing the weight. And so many of us want to ditch sugar because we want to become slimmer. We want to become, lighter. We want to lose a few pounds on the scale. Yes, that's awesome, but it's a side benefit, because really we want to get our body in optimal shape. Okay. We want it to be the healthiest and thriving, so that our cells can reproduce. Okay. And so 3 reasons why we want to ditch sugar. It's highly inflammatory, and inflammation at the root of every disease is inflammation. Okay. When our body is at dis-ease, it's because there's inflammation. All right. And so highly inflammatory. So it alters the body by inflammation of the brain. Some of you said you feel sluggish, you have that brain fog. Well, here's what it does. It elevates glucose in the blood system, harms blood vessels. When you have too much glucose going through your blood and you don't have enough insulin to take it. I have my handy dandy cell here because I'm a super geek, and we're studying the body this whole month with the girls. So I have my cell here. And so on your cell, I don't know if you can see it, but there's these little nodules. There are these receptor sites. And so what happens when you have glucose, when you eat something, whether it's fruit or you eat a candy bar, you have glucose running through your bloodstream, and your body is going, okay, your pancreas releases the insulin, and insulin hormone is a hormone, it links arm with the glucose, with that sugar, and takes it into the cell to create energy. But if you have too much glucose running through the bloodstream, you may not have enough insulin, or your body becomes insulin resistant because it's just constant, kind of like the boy who cried wolf, right? And your insulin receptor sites are going to shut off. Nope, this cell is full. We don't need any more energy here, and just keeps shutting it off. And so you become insulin resistant. And what happens is that damages your blood vessels. And so damaged blood vessels is a major cause of complications with folks that are diabetic. You become insulin resistant, then you become diabetic, type 2 diabetes. And then guess what? If you are prone to that and you already have type 2 diabetes, you don't hear this in the news, you don't hear this in media, but research it. Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is type 3 diabetes. You have complications with damaged blood vessels. And what that does is it impairs your vision. It impairs your motor speed. It actually shrinks your brain, no cognitive function, and you eventually start to lose memory. Okay. You get that brain fog. How many of you get that brain fog in the afternoon? Okay. This is why we need to stop the sugar. Okay. Because Alzheimer's is essentially linked to type 3 diabetes. Okay. And so you also have the fine motor skills, the numbness, the not being able to use our hands properly, or inflammation in the hands, arthritis. And so inflammation alters the body by inflammation. Mood. How many of you, if you don't get your sugar, you get hangry? How many of you get hangry? You're going, yeah, me too, right? Me too, girl. And so mood, higher rates of sugar equals higher rates of depression or another mood disorder. So scientific reports found I don't have that study written down, but there's been scientific reports done that those with higher levels of sugar consumption were 23% more likely to be diagnosed with a mental disorder than those with lower sugar intake. It alters our mood, right? We go those sugar rushes and then the sugar crash, and it alters our mood. And so we want to be more even keeled, right? We want to have that stable blood sugar all the time, right? So mood, it affects inflammation, which affects our brain, which affects our mood, and then ladies and men. I don't see any men on here tonight. Maybe I see a Travis. Maybe that's his wife joining from, I always get, women joining from their husband's accounts. But listen, ladies, this affects our hormones. Sugar affects our hormones. Insulin is a hormone, and hormones are chemical messengers helping to control every physiological function in our body, including our metabolism, our immune function, our reproductive health, so our sex drive, right? Reproductive health, sex drive, all of that, our menstrual cycle. And so in women, when we have too much sugar, an elevated diet in sugar, or a high glycemic diet, meaning overly refined processed foods, refined carbohydrates, sugars, equals estrogen. It shifts our body into creating a lot of estrogen. It changes our blood sugar, which changes our estrogen level. And so we become estrogen dominant, and which could lead to symptoms like PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, or becoming very fibrous in the breasts, where we're having fibroids in our breasts as well. And so that's where we have that imbalance. For our men, which our men probably do not want to hear this, but they need to hear this. Men, high glycemic index diets, like I just spoke of, it converts testosterone to estrogen. So our men become more estrogen dominant. And that's why you see men that have a high glycemic index diet, or eating sugar, or too many refined carbs, you'll see that they actually develop breasts, right? We see men in our culture that have those, that they look like they're developing breasts, or the big bellies, all right? So that is testosterone being converted to estrogen. So they're becoming more estrogen dominant. Now we both men need a little estrogen, women need a little testosterone. We need that balance. But when we have too much sugar in our diet, we get that imbalance. Men get too much estrogen, women get way too much estrogen, and then our testosterone is depleted completely, and we don't get enough testosterone, or we get too much testosterone, right? So there's different, variants of hormone imbalances. And so 3 things that sugar does: inflammation, alters the brain, mood, alters our mood, alters our hormones, okay? So those should be the 3 things that make you want to say, no more sugar, no more drug, no more, I don't need this, okay? And so Laurel, who is also a holistic health coach and a good friend of mine, we met on Instagram, but you're a local girl. You are in Berks County, you're in Kutztown, right? She is going to share her story and some juicy little tips on how you can help yourself and your family overcome this sugar addiction. And I want to say one thing. Like I was saying, sugar is a drug, right? And so anything, we don't say, oh, I'll just eat it on the weekend, right? I'll just eat it this afternoon, right? If you are addicted to something and you let it creep in, it's just going to take over. And so Laurel's going to share how you can totally cut it out and you can be in control, right? Laurel, I am so excited to hear your story. I'm going to let you take it over, girl. Go for it.
All right. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So for everybody that's new here, my name is Laurel Burkholder, and me and my husband live in Kutztown, Pennsylvania. And like Sarah said, I am a holistic health coach, which sounds so scary to say because I literally just graduated on Friday. So this is like very fresh and new. So I'm just going to start with a little bit of my story with sugar, and then I'm going to share my top 5 tips for kicking sugar. So I have sort of a long history with sugar. my family owned a bakery for a couple years when I was growing up. So there was always like bake stuff and around, like leftovers, and like we would eat cake for breakfast on occasion. And yeah, we just had a lot of sugar. We ate healthy otherwise, but just heavy on like the baked goods and that kind of thing. Um, and then fast forward to teenage years, I started working in food service. I had quite a few food service jobs, and the most notable one was at a discount grocery store, and I worked there for 3.5 years, and I really loved it there. I'm an avid foodie, and it was just so fun because you never knew what was going to come through, and you got to see all the new things first because you were an employee. But because it was a discount grocery store, there was often things that we couldn't sell, like if it was like a little bit outdated or the packaging was damaged or something like that. So there was like food around all the time. And I have a huge sweet tooth. I still do to this day. I don't know if I'll ever cure myself, but it was just too easy to like eat sweet treats like constantly in the lunchroom. There was always like treats sitting around, and like a pint of ice cream was only 50 cents from the freezer. And I love ice cream. It's one of my favorite splurges. So I would like eat a whole pint of ice cream in addition to my lunch, no problem. And I was 18 and 19. I had a great metabolism. I didn't gain a pound. So I could do it. I could get away with it. But it kind of led me to really craving sugar. Like Sarah said, sugar is a drug. It increases your dopamine, which is your like feel good hormone. Eating sugar makes us feel really good. And I would eat it until like I got that full up to here feeling. I would be like, I'm full, I'm stuffed, like I couldn't eat anymore. And that's when I would just like be able to stop and be like, wow, I have enough now. But then within an hour you could be craving sugar again, because when you eat a diet so high in sugar, you mess your gut up, and you feed those bad bugs, because those bad bugs in your gut, they just love sugar and they make you crave it. So before, or yeah, so I eventually, like I had a lot of inflammation, and like my gut health was suffering. So I tried a lot of different sugar diets and sugar cleanses and fasts and that kind of thing. And I learned a lot of tips along the way. So one thing I do want to say before I get into the tips is that if you struggle with this, like being addicted to sugar or craving it a lot, it may not necessarily be you that's craving it. Like it might be that like the bad bugs in your stomach, because they rely on that sugar to live. So they're going to be throwing you cravings, and they're going to make you crave it because that's what they survive on. So they want you to eat more. So they're gonna, it's like a whole chemical process that I like don't have time to explain here, but they're going to give you cravings, and they're going to make you want sugar, and you're going to feel out of control and crazy. And that's where a sugar fast can help. So with all that said, my top 5 tips for taking sugar, hopefully for good, right? Okay, so the first one, super important, is to adequately prepare. Decide when you're going to start, and decide how it's going to go. Like make grocery lists. Look online for recipes that you can have. Stock your fridge, stock your freezer. You can even make desserts that are sugar free, that you like, little treats that you can have if you have a sweet tooth and you just feel like you have to have something sweet after a meal. There are desserts you can have and like indulge in. I like to use stevia for things and stuff like that. Hide all the food that you aren't going to be eating right now, like all the junky treats, like put them in the freezer, out of sight, out of mind. Set out snacks you can have. Prepare snacks ahead of time, so that you have something to grab when you're in a rush. Meal prep and plan. Okay, so that's number 1. Super important to prepare. Number 2, go cold turkey for at least a week. And keep in mind that the first 3 days are going to be the hardest. Some people say 4 days, I say 3. I say once you get over that 3-day hump of absolutely no sugar, you're going to be okay, and your cravings are they're gonna get so much better after that. So stick it out. The longer you starve those gut bugs, the bad bugs, and like all those things that are relying on sugar in your body, the better it's gonna get. So that's why I personally actually recommend going cold turkey for like even 2 weeks, a month, before you start easing back into like some like safer foods like berries or maybe sweet potatoes or things that have a little bit of starch in them. Because once you get past 3 days, you're just getting on a roll, you know? So you're on a roll, you might as well keep going, stick it out 2 weeks, a month. You'd be surprised how far you can really go. You're stronger than you know. Number three, do not restrict calories. Trying to lose weight at the same time as doing a sugar fast is going to be really, really, really hard. It's going to make it harder for yourself. If you let yourself get too hungry, it will make it so much harder to make good decisions and resist sugary treats. My best advice for those horrible cravings you get, like the first week or so of a sugar fast, like a cold turkey thing, is to munch on something healthy that you can have. My favorite go-tos are almonds, like just plain salted almonds or mixed nuts, or something that has like a little bit of crunch. You really feel like you're crunching on something. And just if you get a craving for sugar, just like keep munching those almonds, just stick them in there, just distract yourself with that kind of thing. Or get busy, go outside, do something like walk away from the situation. If you stand in the middle of the kitchen and think about it, you're gonna give in, right? Drink water, make yourself a fun tea, an herbal tea, or maybe drink like a sparkling water that's like unsweetened or something like that, something fun to like make yourself like feel like you're satiating your desires, but you're not indulging. Number four, get enough sleep. Low sleep equals poor decision making skills. So if you're especially in that first week when it's like the hardest, I recommend like going to bed at a good hour, like 9 o'clock, and just like I'm in bed right now, and like do your nighttime routine, make it special. Maybe you apply your oils to help you relax. My favorite for sleep is cedarwood, and just go to bed, and then you wake up refreshed, like ready to make good decisions the next morning. Especially if you're like an emotional eater who like gets like a craving around like late at night, just like get really into going to bed and going to sleep so that you don't get hit with that in the evening. And the last one, and this is like probably the most important one, and it is be honest with yourself and manage your mindset. This with like a sugar fast or any kind of fast or any kind of diet, mindset is huge. Like I can't stress it enough. It is so huge. What you tell yourself through this is so important. Whether you think you can or you think you can, you're right. So what you tell yourself is so important. Avoid getting into the headspace of, oh, I can't have that. Oh, I can't have that. Like don't put those cookies in front of my face. I can't have that. Like instead, tell yourself, I choose not to eat that right now because it's not what I want for my health right now. Eating a cookie right now does not align with my health goals. I will eat sugar again one day, maybe. You can tell yourself that even if it's not true. But you can say to yourself, I'm going to put the leftover Christmas treats in the freezer. They'll be there for me when I come back. They're going to be fine. Like I will eat sugar again one day, but today is not that day because I have a goal and I'm going to meet it. And being honest with yourself is so important. When you are hit with a craving, stop and ask yourself, what do I really need right now? There's a really good chance it's not cheesecake. Maybe you have like a habit. Maybe you're bored. Maybe you're lonely. Maybe it's just your habit to eat something sweet after a meal. So you think you have to have it. So it's just a habit. So you do it. Why do you have this craving? What do you really need? It's not ice cream. It's most likely something else. Get a journal and write about what you discover. Why do you tend to revert to sugar? Is there some other pattern going on? Like, what's going on? Cravings are a messenger to our bodies. They're telling us something. So this is an ideal time to find out what your cravings are telling you. Just really listen, like, yeah, am I just bored? Do I just think I have to have dessert because I always did? Do I think, oh, if I don't eat this, it'll probably get moldy, or like what? Like, if anybody here has ever like struggled a lot with sugar addiction and that kind of thing, you know that the excuses your mind can come up with are endless. They are endless. Our minds are so tricky. They will tell us the craziest things when we really, really, really want to indulge in something yummy. So just really listen to what your mind is telling you and just think about it. Write it down, get it off your mind, and yeah, maybe find out what your body's really trying to tell you. And I just really want everybody here to know that your body is not broken. It may be throwing you clues to what is going on inside. So it's super important that we listen. I know, like, I have lots of experience with this, and I know when you're like in the throes of this, you're trying to like fight this and you're trying to go off sugar. It's really, really hard and you feel crazy. You might feel out of control. But I just want you to know your body is not broken and you can get through this. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Awesome. Thank you, Laurel. Those were spot on. I hope you all took notes, especially with the emotional part. I mean, I'm sure you've been there as well, Laurel, and so many of you, when so many of us just came off the 5-day nutritive cleanse, and I do that mostly for emotional, reasons, because food is a comfort for me, all kinds of food. I find that it's a comfort to take care of my family. I love cooking. I love being in my kitchen. But when you're home, and I feel like a lot of us are home now with working from home, and our environments have changed. It's so easy to just sit at the computer and snack, right? And if we're bored or we're procrastinating, I find that when I'm bored or I'm procrastinating, that is when I go and I will snack, whether it's something sweet or something unhealthy. And so definitely journal, like Laurel said. And she was also saying, have those snacks on hand, like salted nuts, or something salty that's like the opposite of your sugar craving. But if you're more of like, some people like it's a texture thing. Would you agree, Laurel? Like some of us like that crunchiness, but some people like more of like pudding or yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. I feel like when something's crunchy, it tells your brain like I'm eating something, and it really helps with like cravings because it really like communicates like I am eating something. It is crunchy. It is salty. This is helping.
Yeah. Yes. And so if you're that crunchy kind of person, you like that crunch, then definitely go with like, the salted like nuts, like almonds or something, or pecans. But maybe some of us are more of like this, like that creamy, like ice cream or pudding, or like a yogurt. You can do a plain yogurt, no sweetener, or you can try like a chia pudding, maybe with some no sugar peanut butter in it. You can research, chia puddings on Pinterest, and I'll just kind of type that if you're unfamiliar with that. But that'll give you maybe like that, like creamy sensation, like that texture. So we all have like, there's so many different kinds of sweets. So think about what are you drawn to? It's not just the sugar, but it's probably also the texture too, I think. So yeah, awesome points. I mean, I hope you all took notes on all those little tips. Super important. And so I'm going to leave you with a few tips as well with books and resources. And if Laura, if you have any books or any resources that you recommend, because we have to have our meal plans ready. We have to have those, recipes on hand, ready to go, so that we don't fail, right? We want to set ourselves up for success. So ultimately, we want a nutrient-dense, packed diet, making sure we have the nutrients we need. So that is going to be, and this is from all my research and all of that I've listened to. Red meat is the most nutrient, grass-fed red meat is the most nutrient-dense food that you can eat. Making sure you have that in your diet because your body is craving nutrients. Okay, like Laurel said, a craving sends a signal. Okay, it's a signal to our body. All right, it's telling us something. It's needing something. Right, it's a signal. So nutrient dense. Fat, making sure you're having healthy fat, coconut oil, grass-fed butter, olive oil, really good oils. Okay, canola oil, vegetable oils, those are not so much. Maybe we should do another video on that. So good healthy fats, again, coconut oil, grass-fed butters, or even if just butter, olive oil, making sure you're having that in your diet, avocados. So fat, meat, making sure you're getting your B vitamins, okay? I don't know where I read this. I did read it, but the founder of AA did a lot of research on addiction, okay? When we're addicted to something, we're lacking B vitamins. Did you know that? We're lacking B vitamins. So making sure you have good, ample B vitamins. And again, red meat, you can get it through organ meat. I know that's not really like the best. I mean, highly sought after. Who's going to say, oh yeah, sign me up for, heart and liver and kidneys, right? I'll eat that any meal. No. But if we can try to implement some kind of organ meat in our diet, even if it's just mixing it in with our red meat, that would be awesome. Some oils that you can use. I know that's always a question. How do I get oils? What kind of oils help with cravings? So dill. Did you know that? The dill oil, if you smell it, it's going to curb a craving, especially sugar cravings. Okay, so get yourself some dill. I wouldn't put it all over yourself. You'll smell like a big dill pickle. Just carry it with you. Put it in your pocket. Smell it if you feel like you have that craving. Black pepper also helps curb cravings. You can also, do I have it behind me? Yeah. These little fume pipes, F-U-M. If you go to fume.com, F-U-M, looks like this, looks like you're smoking your oils, which you pretty much are. It has this little cotton insert that fits in the end of the pipe. You put your oils on there and you can actually breathe them in. So great for lung and respiratory support, but a lot of people that are trying to kick some kind of addiction, whether it's smoking or sugar or any addiction, will put, dill or black pepper or peppermint on here to help curb cravings. So it's giving you that sensation of doing something with your mouth, right? Just like if we were to chew gum, that will help as well, So that fume pipe, these are great to have on hand, especially in the wintertime, with respiratory support. But you can use dill, you can use black pepper, you can use peppermint, raven as well to help with that sensation of trying to just, focus your mind. Sleek oil, the sleek essence in your water is awesome. Help curb cravings because it has an oil called ocotea. I'm going to spell that down here for you. Ocotea. I hope I spelled it right. I don't think I did. Ogatia. Yeah, there it is. Ogatia helps balance blood sugars too. All right, so that's in the Sleek Essence, or you can just use Ogatia. A drop under your tongue helps balance blood sugars. So that's a great oil. Grapefruit also helps with curbing cravings. A lot of people, and I think if you're on our email list, if you're on our team, you'll get the email, I believe next week, within this month. I have it scheduled out. There's like a sugar or like a craving curbing combo. It's like peppermint, grapefruit, and lemon that you can add to your water. So just drinking that, making sure you're getting a lot of fluids in. Oh, I already said lemon. So lemon in your water. So whether you have the premium starter kit, you just start with the kit, or you are ready to expand outside of it, I gave you a lot of, examples to start with to help you curb those cravings. Ningxia Red is amazing once you start adding in. So Laura was saying like cold turkey, just no sugar at all, not even Ningxia, just not even sweet potatoes, not even berries or anything. Just get that, like, desensitize your sweet, your sweetness, your taste buds. And then you can slowly start adding things back in, like the Ningxia. Ningxia really helps curb cravings. I know those, there's some people that drink it like 3 times a day, and you can quit sodas. And if you are trying to quit soda, Ningxia in seltzer is awesome in the afternoon. Add some lemon or grapefruit, and it'll help you kick that soda habit, right? Some books. Laurel said, oh, you were answering hers. Okay. Thank you, Laurel. Yay. Okay. So this book has been really helpful. I don't know if you have this, Laurel, the 21-Day Sugar Detox by Diane San Filippo. I'm going to put that up here. You guys can take a screenshot if you want to. 21-Day Sugar Detox. This is really helpful because she has 3 stages. So you can decide where you're at on your stages. If you were like what Laura was saying, like no sugar, gung-ho, doing it all, like getting rid of it all, that would be like stage 3, getting rid of it all. If you want to ease into this, and that's okay if you do, if you want to ease into it, there's stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. And she gives you meal plans for each, and she gives you a guideline for each stage. And there's awesome recipes in there for sweets as well, where if you think going on a sugar detox, you can't have any sweets, you can. Did you know in Europe, yogurt and berries are actually a dessert? We eat them for breakfast here, right? We eat that for breakfast. Yogurt and berries are actually a dessert in Europe. And so things like that. And so you can have sweets, and there's some great recipes in here. The other one I'm thinking of, it's more hormone balance, but a lot of nutrient dense food. If you're thinking hormone balance, this is called Hormone Balance, this book by Magdalena Zielinski. I'm just going to put this up here so you can take a screenshot so you can see what it looks like. Search it on Amazon. All right. And then the last book, this is really a more in-depth book, but if you love being in the kitchen, if you like cooking, Sarah Wilson, she is from Australia, I believe. And so a lot of different recipes. It's called Simplicious. I Quit Sugar. She has a bunch of books. Really a few more complicated recipes. If you're into cooking funky things, I would suggest this one. But number 1 would be the Sugar Detox book. So there's some recipes, there's some oils that we shared to help guide you, some tips. We want to make this sustainable for you. All right. What are your questions? What do you feel like you need support in? Oh, yes, Laurel, the Candida diet. Like you said, Laurel, which was spot on. Your gut microbes, they are speaking to you. And Brooke came home and told me this the one day. He was listening to a podcast and he's like, did you know your gut microbes speak to you? I was like, what? He's like, they're actually telling you what to eat. And I was like, no way. But when you're eating, a diet high in sugar, your gut microbes are telling you more, more, more. And then you have candida and all the yeast overgrowth. So yes, do a candida diet. Did you do one, Laurel?
Several.
Oh,
yeah. And then I found out that I didn't actually have candida at all, but it was still helpful. It was still good for me, and I learned a lot. And I love that the candidadiet.com for recipes. I absolutely relied on that for those recipes. And a lot of the recipes are really yummy. So if you are looking for recipes, I really recommend looking into that. And I don't really have any books about sugar, but I do like this book, Woman Code. It's about more or less about your cycle and hormones for women. And she talks a little bit about sugar and how it affects your hormones. But other than that, I don't really have any resources. This one's just more about hormones and that kind of thing. So
yeah, thank you. So just know that you're going to be changing your gut microbes during this whole thing, and your gut microbes communicate to your brain, right? Through your gut brain axis, okay? Through your, what's the pathway? I can't think of it right now. Yeah, my brain's not working. But you have an enteric nervous system that, not your central nervous system, your enteric nervous system that communicates from your gut to your brain. And so you need to change those microbes. And as you do that, you're going to desensitize your taste buds. You're going to change your whole microbiome. And when you taste real sugar, that real white, really sweet sugar, your body's going to go, wow, that is really sweet. So when you introduce sugar back into your diet, I put the link. If you guys scroll up, I put a Google Doc link with all the names for sugar. Scroll up and you'll find that. When you introduce sugar back in, here are my top picks. Laurel said stevia. Stevia is a good one. To start with, it has no calories. I would also suggest coconut sugar because it's lower on the glycemic index. So it's really not very sweet, but it's going to give you that sweet sensation like, this is satisfying, but it's not going to tell your brain to go back for more and more and more. Coconut sugar, also known as palm sugar. It's similar to sucanant. I'm going to type that out because people are like, what is that? Sucanant sugar. You can find that at your health food store. What that is, it's just the sugar cane dehydrated and then just like in tiny little granules. It looks like sand. It's kind of brown. But the molasses, it kind of tastes a little like molasses. Again, not very sweet. It's just gonna, when you make something that's a baked good, it's gonna give your body that sensation like, it's gonna feel really satisfied. You just need a little bit. All right. I use sucanant. That's what we use for all our baked goods, sucanant. And I feel completely satisfied when I have like a cookie. I don't have to go back for 3 or 4 or more, right? Just one is good. The other two would be honey and maple syrup. If you like sugar in your coffee, start maybe using either sucanant or maple syrup, just a little tiny bit, because those two items, just like I find stevia is really on the sweet side too, but it's not going to give you the calories or the negative effects of sugar. But maple syrup, honey, they're on the sweeter side, so you only have to use a tiny bit, right? Yes, Denise, the coconut sugar is excellent too. I use sucanant and coconut sugar pretty much the same as I would use white sugar. So if my recipe calls for 1 cup of sugar, white sugar, I will use 1 cup of sucanat. And I actually, in recipes, if it calls for a cup of sugar, I cut it back to either 3/4 or a half a cup. And my girls know when they bake, like mom's going to cut back the sugar, they just know. Because you just don't need all of it, right? You just need a little bit to give your body that little sweetness. If you crave, like Laurel said, if you crave something after dinner, and you feel like you're in control of your sugar addiction, then okay, when you start adding things back in, go for those options. So if there's any other questions, or Laurel, if you have anything else to offer.
I don't think so.
Okay. Well,
thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And you can connect with Laurel. She's in our education group. You can connect with her on Instagram at Crunchy Dutch Girl, right? I love that. Crunchy Dutch Girl. So you can connect with her on Instagram. She's also in our essential oil education group. If you want to touch base with her and set up like an appointment for going over your health goals, you can do that. Thank you all for joining tonight. I'll share the replay tomorrow. If you have any questions or any way we can support you, please comment and reach out to us. Have a good night, y'all. Thanks for joining.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you, Laurel.
You're welcome.